Good evening. I'm going to call this meeting to order. The time is 7:30. This is the regular council meeting for May 22nd. Clerk, can you please do a roll call?
Councilwoman Aaron. Mayor Pro Tem Bliss.
I'm here.
Councilman Fleming.
Here.
Councilor Rohrbach.
Here.
Councilman Soltis.
Here.
Councilor Wright.
Here.
Mayor Grafstein.
I am here. Can I please get a motion to excuse Councilwoman Aaron? She did give notice.
Your Honor,
Yes.
so moved.
Thank you. Is there support?
Your Honor,
Yes.
I'll support.
Thank you. Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those against say no. Motion carries. She is excused. The invocation and pledge of allegiance this evening is going to be delivered by Mayor Pro Tem Bliss. I invite you to stand if you would like.
All right. Since it is Mental Health Awareness Month, I'd like to read a brief essay from author Brene Brown. Everyone has a story or a struggle that will break your heart. And if we're really paying attention, most people have a story that will bring us to our knees. You would think that the universal nature of struggle would make it easier for all of us to ask for help. But in a culture of scarcity and perfectionism, there can still be so much shame around reaching out, especially if we're not raised to understand the nature of human need. To know pain is human, to need is human, and no amount of money, influence, resources, or sheer determination will change our physical, emotional, and spiritual dependence on others. Many of us are willing to extend a helping hand, but we are very reluctant to reach out for help when we need it ourselves. It's as if we divided the world into those who offer help and those who need help, when the truth is we are both. Need is the most beautiful compact between humans.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. First up, we have approval of the agenda. Are there any additions or deletions this evening? All right, seeing none, we're going to move to presentations. We have the Police Department Commendation Awards.
Good evening, Mayor and Council, and thank you for allowing the Police Department time to honor our 2022 Commendation Award recipients at tonight's council meeting. We will get started with the Police Command Officer of the Year for 2022. David Kohler has been a command officer for over 5 years and has served in his current role as a police lieutenant for over a year. Lieutenant Kohler has had several additional responsibilities throughout his entire career, including FTO Commander, Bike Patrol Commander, Motor Carrier Enforcement and Accident Investigation Team Coordinator, and our new police radio trainer. Lieutenant Kohler is a mentor to our younger officers and is always available to help when needed. Lieutenant Kohler did an outstanding job over the last year with our Field Training Officer Unit, including supervising the training for 8 new police officers and 3 new service aides. Due to his outstanding performance in 2022, Lieutenant Kohler has been awarded the Command Officer of the Year Award. The next award is the Police Officer of the Year Award for 2022. Officer Kyle Schock has been an officer with our department since May of 2021. In his short time with our department, he has been an excellent example to all officers on how to work hard, stay motivated, be professional, and succeed in an ever-increasing difficult job. Officer Schock is always the first to volunteer for any assignment and does so with a very positive attitude. Officer Schock is a very valuable part of our recruitment unit and always represents our department with professionalism. Officer Schock, in his short time here, is already a member of our recruitment unit, our Combat Quick Response Team unit, a defensive tactics instructor, an ALICE instructor, an evidence technician, and part of the Oakland County Mobile Field Force. It is for these reasons and many others that Officer Schock was selected as the 2022 Police Officer of the Year. The next award is for the Reserve Officer of the Year of 2022, Reserve Officer Richard Horensky. Rich has been a member of the Reserve Unit since July 17th of 2010. In 2022, Rich worked a total of 156.5 volunteer hours and covered 47 separate shifts. Rich has a positive attitude and encourages other members of the unit. He consistently demonstrates an overwhelming commitment to the City of Madison Heights and the entire community. We can always count on him volunteering for last-minute assignments when there are police reserve staffing issues. I am honored to present Rich with the Reserve Officer of the Year Award for 2022. The next group of awards this evening are for life-saving. On May 24th, 2022, at approximately 4:52 a.m., Officer Kyle Schock was dispatched to the Red Roof Inn for a male not breathing and possibly overdosing. Officer Schock located an unresponsive male lying on his back outside of one of the motel rooms. The male had glossy eyes, pinpoint-sized pupils, and he was sweating profusely, which are all indications of opiate overdose. Officer Schock immediately administered his department-issued Narcan, and the male regained consciousness and was transported to the hospital by our fire department for further treatment. This effort by Officer Schock clearly saved this man's life, and Officer Schock is being recognized with a life-saving award.
Welcome back. Thank you. Great job. Congratulations.
On June 25th, 2022, Officer Arnella Desderovic and Officer Schock were dispatched to the Days Inn for a male who had overdosed and was not breathing. Officers entered the motel room through an open sliding glass door, and they observed the male lying on his side on the floor between the two beds. The male was barely breathing, was sweating profusely, and had pinpoint pupils. Officer Desderovic administered her department-issued Narcan, and the male regained consciousness. The male was then transported to the hospital by the fire department for further treatment. Officer Desderovic saved this man's life and is being recognized with a life-saving award this evening. On December 9th, 2022, at approximately 10:32 a.m., Officer Rodriguez Johnson and his training officer were dispatched to the 1300 lot area of Ann Terrace for a possible overdose. Upon arrival, Officer Johnson observed a female lying on her back on the bedroom floor. The female had extremely slow, shallow, inconsistent breaths, again indicative of possible drug overdose. Officer Johnson administered his department-issued Narcan, and the female's condition improved and she regained consciousness. The female was then transported to the hospital by the fire department. Officer Johnson saved this woman's life and is being recognized with a life-saving award. The next awards this evening are for meritorious service. This commendation may be awarded for services rendered in the line of duty when any member, because of due diligence and perseverance, performs a difficult task in order to prevent a crime, protect life or property, apprehend criminals, or takes actions which substantially further the goals of our department. Sergeant Rick, who was an officer at the time, and Officer Karai received meritorious service awards for their actions during a call regarding a suicidal male with a gun. On March 29th of 2022, there was a male threatening to shoot himself in his backyard. When officers responded, he chambered around and pointed the shotgun in the air. Officers drew their department-issued handguns and negotiated for the male to drop the shotgun. He then lowered the shotgun towards the officers, but thankfully then to the ground. The male was safely detained and later petitioned for a psychological evaluation. These officers showed great restraint to not use any force, let alone deadly force, which could have easily been justified in this situation. Therefore, both of them are receiving tonight a Meritorious Service Award. The next award is a Unit Citation Award. The Unit Citation Commendation may be awarded to all members of any unit within the department which, as a result of their combined efforts of all the officers assigned, has performed its regularly assigned duties or any special assignments in an outstanding and professional manner over an extended period of time, thus enhancing the department's ability to attain its goals and objectives. The Comeback Quick Response Team, also known as the QRT team, is receiving this award tonight. This unit is comprised of the following officers: Officer Thomas Baker, Officer Ashley Blevins-Howard, Officer Chad Cook, Officer Arnella Dizdarevic, Officer James Rayner, Officer Gunther Brieger, Sergeant Jordan Rick, Officer Kyle Schock, and Officer Sarmad Talia. The purpose of the QRT unit is to combat the nationwide opioid epidemic that touches our own community. The QRT team goes into the community once a week to follow up with individuals who have experienced a non-fatal overdose. The team has expanded its role to visit anyone suffering from substance use disorder and offer services to the individual and their families. During 2022, the Comeback Quick Response Team made 84 visits to 36 individuals and their families. Successful contact was made with 24 of those individuals. 13 of those individuals that were contacted entered into further treatment, and 5 of their families have also accepted services as well. Without the dedication of these officers, this program could not succeed and offer hope to those struggling with substance use disorder. These officers make a diligent difference in our community every week and have accomplished adding a very successful program to the Madison Heights Police Department that assists in fighting the opioid epidemic. Congratulations.
Thank you.
The next award is a unit citation for our recruitment unit. The recruitment unit consists of the following officers, and you're going to hear some of the same names once again. Officers Chad Cook, Officer Arnella Dizdarevic, Officer Aaron Kowalski, Sergeant Jordan Rick, Sergeant Sean Schofield, Officer Kyle Schock, and Officer Samrad Talia. The MHPD recruitment unit was launched in 2022 for the specific purpose of recruiting and hiring the best officers for Madison Heights. Those listed officers that I just named and supervisors were chosen because of their motivation and their positive attitudes. They all have the single goal of promoting the Madison Heights Police Department and recruiting the finest men and women for our city. In 2022, the unit utilized job fairs, in-person presentations at police academies, social media, and their own personal contacts to bring individuals into our department. As a result of their hard work, Madison Heights Police Department had its largest list of qualified candidates to interview and selected from in the past several years. Also due to their hard work, 8 new officers were hired in 2022, and several more are in the process of being selected for our department. Because of their hard work, dedication, positive attitudes, and endless promotion of our department, these officers and command officers are being presented with a unit citation.
Thanks.
This concludes our awards ceremony this evening. I would like to again thank you, Mayor and members of City Council, for allowing us this opportunity to present these much-deserved awards to a cadre of wonderful officers. Thank you.
I would like to thank all the officers and their families, especially Mom. Everyone give Mom a big hand. All right. Next up, we've got a proclamation declaring June 2nd as National Gun Violence Awareness Day in Madison Heights.
City Council is being requested to approve a proclamation declaring Friday, June the 2nd, to be National Gun Violence Awareness Day to encourage all citizens to support the local community's efforts to prevent the tragic effects of gun violence and to honor and value human lives. Anyone can join this campaign by simply pledging to wear orange on June the 2nd to honor the lives of gun violence victims and their survivors. And resident Sarah Hall of Moms Demand Action is here somewhere today to receive the proclamation.
Okay, next up, we have public hearings. We have the open to the public, so this is the opportunity for the public to, oh, you can't hear, okay. This is the opportunity for the public to, still can't hear? We're going to do a pause for that.
Speak louder.
Yeah, I don't think she'll need to. Wait, let's be louder.
Breathe from their diaphragm.
Okay, all right. That might have just been all the outside noise.
Got to get bigger speakers up.
All right, so up next we have, there we go. Up next we have meeting open to the public. This is the opportunity for the public to speak. If you can speak on anything that you would like, I ask that you address me and that you keep your comments to 3 minutes, give your name, address, any affiliation with the city, and with that, I'm going to open the floor. Anyone would like to speak?
Martha Covert, Edward Avenue. I had the honor of attending the, okay, I'm going to say it wrong, the 4 steps to racial reconciliation. There we go.
Reconciliation.
Okay. And I know people had this opinion that it was going to be about, what your skin color was, what your religion was. It was none of that. I was actually, and I'm not trying to be funny or smarty or anything, but I was actually blown away by how much I learned from the first 2 speakers. I was just in awe. Amy Grzinski, am I saying it right? Gazinski, okay, the principal from Edmondson, talked about how we listen just to come back, give them an answer, instead of listening to hear what people are saying. I know I do that, depending on how I see you in my spectrum. Am I listening to you because I want to hear what you say, or am I listening just to give you back an answer? And that was like, I thought about that all night. I'm like, wow, that really made sense. And then Quinn was the second speaker talking about lamenting and how one episode, whether it's gun violence or whatever, that hits a community, yeah, internally everybody in that community is affected, but then it, what's the word I want?
Ripple.
Ripple, thank you. It ripples out. And then finally it's done by everybody. And I'm like, that makes a lot of sense. And Emily, I don't mean to embarrass, but I'll use Emily as an example. Emily knows Martha Covert. So Emily and Martha talk and have an idea. Emily knows Mike McFall. So Emily can take that idea to Mike McFall. Mike McFall can take it to Stephanie Chang, who can then take it, like it progresses. People, we have to think about how things can progress. positively and work together to do things positively. And I'd like to say happy early 60th birthday, Kevin Ray.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak this evening? Please. And can I just ask that we get the door shut in the back, please? Thank you.
Oh, I didn't want to get that grumpy with everybody.
You know what? We've got a lot of very excited and happy police officers out there, and I want them to be able to enjoy themselves.
Haven't seen you guys in about 3 or 4 years because we had a pandemic going on. I'm Paul Sanders. I live at 26433 Rialto. I'll probably see you when you're going for election because you'll be down the junior high. Sorry. Hey, I just got this, the new water rates. Yeah. Okay, the water per unit, only, not so bad. It's only going up $1. But the sewage rate, it's doubling. Okay, I hate to use an old TV show, but, when Lucy was talking, go ahead, explain that to me. How come it just doubled? I mean, if it went up 10, 12% or whatever because cost of living's gone up, but doubled? Yeah, I'm an old guy. I got some money. What about the young couples? They gotta do dishes, they gotta wash the kids' clothes. Little babies and people need baths. I'm not talking about me so much. We're the city of tomorrow today. Used to be on the walls out there. What are you gonna do to help out these young people and some of the older people that don't have a nice Social Security? Well, we did. Don't know what's gonna happen with the government now. But what are you gonna do to help these people, and why did it go up so much? Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Deliza Lee, and I live on Harlow Drive here in Madison Heights. And I just wanted to say it was nice to see that the officers got a reward tonight. I had the honor to do a ride-along with them last fall. And the officer that I rode with, we had a good conversation about different things in the city, how Crime Commission can assist them and do things and, support them. But the biggest thing I was really impressed with is how the police officer interact with each other when they're out on the road, when they're on the street. There was someone was having a house party, and they got a call, and it's just how they interact with each other, how they come to a certain site when something's going on. But the most impressive incident, the officer that I was riding with got a call from a citizen. They said they found a stray dog. So he goes in, he gets the dog. I never saw the dog. He opens up the back door. I'm waiting for the dog to jump in. He shuts the door. We take the dog over to the pound. It's a little 4-pound dog that he picked up. But the owner, the young lady that called in, wanted to know could she adopt the dog. So he told her to call back to the pound for so many days. And if the dog does not have a chip and nobody claim him, then, she can come in and adopt the dog. But just the impressive of, we see things on TV, we see things on the news, but it's the way each officer worked together as one unit. It was very impressive. And I was really honored to have that opportunity to ride along with them.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak this evening? All right, I'm going to close public comment, but Mrs. Marsh is going to take a minute to explain the water rates. I got mine in the mail as well.
So based on the comments and questions that we had today in our office, I had this prepared to kind of go through because many of the residents were much like Paul's comment, and why is the sewer rate doubling? And I show several different things up here, but I will start with back in 2015, if you see, the sewer rate was actually $5.10. Shortly thereafter, we redid the water rates and separated out the stormwater from that sewage rate, and it dropped to $3.55. We are now rolling that stormwater or water treatment, it's actually called, back into the sewer rate, and we're eliminating that stormwater rate. So I know the rates, we were trying to be proactive and send out this postcard to let everybody know, but when you just look straight on the rates, I can see why people automatically think that it's double. But to several of the people that I talked to today, at least 3 of them, their water rate's only going up $7 over 3 months, so a quarter. So I did do the average residential bill, which is around 12 units, and this varies. If you've got, 3 teenage girls at home showering, you might use 20 units, so this isn't going to be for everybody. But the average residential bill back in 2015, you'll see, was $102. The bill, as you would have it right now, is $103.30. That's the average. The new would be $126.72. So it's going up $23 a quarter. That's for 12 units. For those people that get billed an average or a minimum bill, which is 10 units, and the reason we have a minimum bill fee is because we don't charge a ready-to-serve charge, and people like their water instantly. As soon as you turn on the spigot, you want the water to show up, and that's to maintain services and everything. So we do charge a minimum bill, but I understand people's point that they don't necessarily understand that method or like that, and they would prefer a ready-to-serve charge. So that is something that I know Councilman Sean Fleming asked about and several other council people. So we're going to be looking at that in the coming, billing cycles. But if you currently pay a minimum bill, your bill is going up $16.22 a quarter. So that's every 3 months. So it isn't doubling. We do have programs in place if you can't afford that. And this varies. So it depends on how much pervious surface you had. So how much you were paying in stormwater if this is, what your bill is going to see. These are just averages. Like I said, 3 people that I talked to today, it's going up between $6.40, $7.10. So I can look up anybody's, I'm here all the time. My staff is very friendly. We have a water bill calculator. I can walk it through with you, so just feel free to call me or show up. I think that is about it, unless.
Mr.
Yes.
Sanders, if you want to ask your question, if you want to go up to the podium.
I can repeat it if you just
Okay,
ask
go
the
ahead.
question so the people at home can
Yeah.
understand.
There is a number. If you have low ink, there is a number at the back, on the back of the card. So you can call. So someone who is having a problem paying their water bill can call. There's no intention, just like there's no intention for anyone to turn off the heat, there's no intention to turn off the water. So if people are struggling, and we get that people are struggling, and there are people who, it may not sound like a lot, $5 here and there, I get that it adds up. So there are programs in place.
One other point that I would like to make, and I've told all the people that called today, is, this city council and myself were very cautious through COVID, and we did not increase rates. Other communities around were increasing rates 3% compounded. I mean, you probably wouldn't have been here if I had increased rates 2019, 3%, 2020, 3%, 3%. But now you see this huge jump, but you have to recognize the fact that we haven't increased rates in many years because we were trying to be cautious. And I did know, COVID's happened. A lot of people aren't working. They're staying at home. They're using more water. And so we did use our reserves for that. But the city has gotten to the point that if we don't pass on a water rate, we cannot replace the water mains. And so Madison Heights has really prided itself in not being one of those communities that you see on the news with all of the water issues. And it's not just Flint, it's several other communities around with iron issues and things. And it's because we have had a longstanding history of being proactive at replacing water mains when we redo the streets. So there's only been maybe 2 years during the recession that we could not do that. And that was because we had used all the resources in the water and sewer department. So we keep a very close eye on those. We don't have a huge savings account there. I'm not, milking the residents to have a savings account. We keep that at a good level that is well enough to maintain a water main break if we have one, but good enough to keep the rates low. And so we also do have the lowest water rates in the region. And I did not just look at communities that I knew were way higher than us and compare. I looked at every community that I could find around. So a lot of places, one of the gentlemen I talked to earlier today, and I'll shut up because I can talk all night long, but was from Hazel Park and said, oh, well, I only pay $100 in Hazel Park, but he pays monthly. And in Madison Heights, you pay quarterly. So, those are the kind of things that you have to keep in mind.
And I'll make the comment as well. If someone is having a struggling making quarterly payments and they want to go on a monthly plan, we offer that as well, don't we? Isn't there's some kind of setup we can do with
Yes,
that?
we don't bill monthly, but you can
Yeah,
pay monthly.
we can
Just
set
come
that
into
up.
the Treasury Department.
We don't want to have anybody not paying their water bill and not getting water and anything like that. So this is just something that, bottom line is, we haven't raised the rates for a few years. We have been absorbing that cost, and we need to pass on the expense. And that's what we're doing now. All right? So thank you, Mrs. Marsh, for clarifying that. Go home and explain that to my family. And next up, we have the consent agenda. So this evening, we have number 4, calling Monahan resignation from the Crime Commission. Number 5, recommendation to remove a member from the Arts Board. 6, Director of Public Services, the West Nile virus reimbursement. 7, the CED Director for the 2024 to 26 CDBG Cooperation Agreement Resolution. 8, the Director of Public Services, Police Department Dispatch Floor Rehabilitation. 9, from the Police Chief, interlocal agreement for the joint exercise of police authority and powers in designated geographic boundaries in Royal Oak. 10, the Police Chief service towing rate increase, and then 11, the council meeting minutes from May 8th. So can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda, please?
Your Honor,
Yes.
I move that council approves the consent agenda as presented.
All right, thank you. Is there a second?
Your Honor,
Yes?
so second.
All right, thank you. Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those against say no. Motion carries. It's all approved. Next up, we have the Charter Study Group, the Charter Amendment Proposals. And I'm going to hand this over to Mr. Sherman.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'm going to use the podium. I think it will be better. Plus, since I'm a little sick, I can stay away from people being here at the podium. Your Honor, members of council, let me start out by saying that it was my distinct honor and pleasure to work with members of the Charter Revision Study Group. The group consisted of Martha Covert, Kevin Wright, Anthony Klopaki, Margene Scott, and Stephen Dombrowski. These members were keenly engaged and contributed to the discussion. Some of the members are here tonight, and I think we should give them a round of applause. And of course, I don't want to forget Melissa Marsh and Cheryl Rodman, whose contributions to the discussion were excellent as always. The primary principle guiding the group was the desire for things to work automatically and seamlessly in the city. The second principle was simplicity. An example of these principles in action is the fact that the group acknowledged that in the past 2 years, we had 1 resignation from council and unfortunately, the death of 2 council members. However, the council did not miss a beat. These seats were filled automatically and seamlessly and without fanfare or any political intrigue. When a sports player is injured, I'm sure we've all heard the adage, next person up. And that's what happened when the 3 council members left us. The study group has presented 4 proposed charter amendments for you tonight and makes 1 recommendation for your consideration. Please note that any vote approving these recommendations for presentation to the voters requires a 3/5 majority, which is 5 members of council. I will present the proposed charter revisions in the order that they appear in the charter. And you should have a copy of each of the proposals at your seat. Proposal 1 is Charter Section 3.4. If approved, it would apply prospectively to the 2025 election, not retroactively to the 2023 election. The group recommended that the appointment of the mayor pro tem be automatic, we discussed two ways for that to happen. The automatic appointment would be from the highest vote getter at the current election or at the last preceding election. Those were the two methods. As you know, the mayor runs every 2 years and 3 council members run every 2 years. If we use the highest vote getter at the current election, the voters would be selecting not only the mayor, but the mayor pro tem in every election. The highest vote getter in the mayor's race would become the mayor, and the highest vote getter in the council race would become the mayor pro tem, each for 2 years. The proposal had a lot of appeal to the group, and this is the revision that they are recommending. They like the fact that the voters would have the choice of electing both the mayor and the mayor pro tem in every election. Thus, in 2025, the highest vote getter in the mayor's race becomes the mayor. The highest vote getter in the council race will become the mayor pro tem. The argument against using the highest vote getter at the last preceding election would be that the mayor pro tem will have served on the council and thus have some experience. However, that person may not be on council anymore, and the group liked the idea of voting, as I've said, for both positions at the same time. In addition, the position assumes that the highest vote getter at the current election is not an incumbent member of council, but that they may be an incumbent member of council, so they will have, or they could have, experience in being on council. The second proposal is Section 5.1. It too would apply to the 2025 election. The group recommended that no one be required to resign their city or non-city elective office in order to run for mayor until that person wins election as mayor or council member. Although this prohibition, as you know, has a long history in the city and served a purpose of creating stability in the city, the group thought it was outdated and lived beyond its usefulness. This means that a council member who is not running for council in this term, since you cannot run for 2 offices at the same time, can run for mayor without having to resign their council seat. Now, you do recall when Mayor Hardwell, when then council member Hardwell decided to run for mayor. He had to resign for office, and he really didn't want to resign from office, but he followed the law and he resigned. After the election, he came up to me and said, you know what, that was the best thing that ever happened to me. I said, why? He said, because it gave him time to campaign. So there was a benefit to him in having to do so. Proposal 3 is Charter Section 5.5. The group recommended that resignations of a member of a board and commission be handled administratively rather than being presented to council. Of course, you'll notice that we had one on the agenda today, and ever since the advent of the consent agendas, matters such as this one have been placed on the consent agenda. Even so, the proposal would eliminate resignations such as this one from coming before council. Any resignations from council or the mayor's position, of course, would still come before council. Proposal 4 is Section 5.7a. This too would apply in 2025. The recommendation follows the proposed change in 5.1. In 5.1, we are making the appointment of the mayor pro tem automatic. In this section, in the event that the mayor resigns, the mayor pro tem would automatically become mayor. This will then create a vacancy in the office of mayor pro tem. Since the highest vote getter is already the mayor pro tem, and since the mayor pro tem is now becoming the mayor, the council would then appoint the mayor pro tem's position from the council member who received the second highest number of votes in the last preceding regular city election. And finally, we get to Section 6.1. And you have before you a proposal 5, which the study group did not review, did not vote on. This provision, 6.1, as you'll recall, requires council to hold at least 2 regular meetings per month. The group is recommending no change. Why? The group believes that 2 regular meetings per month is better for the residents. A resident may have an issue they wish to address before council, but may be unavailable during the one of the monthly meetings and may be available during the other monthly meeting. They also believe that holding 2 regular meetings per month allows for shorter meetings, unlike many other municipalities who hold meetings long into the night. As for staff time, they contend that the cost of the 2 shorter meetings would be the same as one of the long meetings. Now, of course, this does not account for the fact that in addition to the council's regular meetings, the council is required to hold many special meetings. So the group acknowledged that council meets more than 23 times per calendar year. It meets twice a month, plus 1 time in December due to the holidays. But the group believed that the 2 meetings per month has become a long-time tradition in Madison Heights, that this is the schedule that every candidate signed up for, and they did not believe that 1 meeting per month schedule for regular meetings would be well received by the voters out there. Now, per the administration's request, I did draft a proposal, and it's presented to you tonight, because as you'll recall, the study group is a recommendation body. It makes recommendations, and then it's up to the council to decide on how to proceed. And that draft provides for 20 meetings per calendar year with a minimum of at least 1 required meeting per month. The study group, as I indicated, did not consider this proposal. Let me conclude by saying that the study group did an excellent job. They carefully considered these issues. They debated, minds were changed, and then they voted on what they thought was best for the city. And if one of the study group members who happens to be here tonight would like to address council or say something that I didn't explain, please feel free to come up here. Okay? All right. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. All right, so got 5 proposals here, so we're going to do each of these individually. All right, and we'll start with proposal 1. So we'll start with a motion. With respect to proposal 1, what is the wish of council?
Your Honor,
Yes.
I move that council approves Proposal 1 with Section 3.4 about the election of mayor and mayor pro tem as presented by the, what do you guys call them? Charter Study Group. Thank you.
All right. All right, thank you. Is there a second?
Your Honor,
Yes.
I will second.
All right, motion has been made and seconded. Is there discussion?
Your Honor,
Yes.
just a few clarifications really quick. First, this wouldn't take effect until the 2025 election. Second, if the highest number or the highest vote getter declines due to schedule, health, et cetera, does it automatically go to the second, as we talked about in the mayor appointment? And then the third question is, if we don't come to a consensus tonight, when is our last cutoff to be able to get this to the state to go on the ballot?
Mr. Chairman?
It would only apply, it would start applying in the 2025 election, not the 2023. If the highest vote getter declines, then it would go back to council, and council would have to make a decision as to who they want, the current system that's in place. And we being Cheryl, Melissa, and I have been in contact with an assistant attorney general who has a long experience, a long-time experience in looking at these proposed ballot issues. We've held several Zoom conferences with him. He has given informal opinions as to the language. We've adjusted the language before presenting it to you. So your last question, Mark, was what again? You said-
So it
Deadline.
takes 5 votes, we're 1 person shy, so assuming that it were tabled, how long would we technically have?
Well, they made the sooner we get this in, the better. George Elworth, who's the individual I'm talking about, said you could theoretically go to June 12th, which is the next meeting. Is that correct, Cheryl?
Yes.
Okay. So it could be the next council meeting, but that would be the end of it, June 12th.
And Your Honor, if I may, would love to get a little bit more understanding of the committee's thought process in using the top vote getter from that current election versus the one from 2 years prior. So it sounds like it's more like recency. Love to understand a little bit more about the debate, because as I understand it, that one was a split vote from the committee. So would love to just hear a
If
little bit
someone from
more
the committee,
before we
yes.
make a decision.
Councilman, Mr. Mayor, that was a split vote, a 3-2 vote. And I think our consensus was that we wanted the will of the voters from the current election to be heard, not from 2 years before. A lot can happen in 2 years. So we were going to the will of the voters as of the election in November. They would have clearly spoken of who they wanted the top voter to get. That's who we thought should be the mayor pro tem. So really, it's just making the will of the voters the top priority.
Thank you. Is there any other discussion with this? Okay, so I understand, and we've had, the last few times we've appointed our pro tem. I don't think they've been unanimous. Some of them have and some of them haven't the last few times. And I don't want to take that away from sitting council. So I would like to see, I guess, a tweak on this. Right now, I don't think there is a deadline for when we need to appoint a pro tem. But I would like it to be, and I don't know the exact wording of this, but the way it works now is one of the first things we do after being sworn in is there's an appointment of the pro tem. Someone makes a motion, someone seconds, everybody votes. And as long as there are 4 yeses, that person becomes pro tem. And I would like councils to still be able to do that. Now, if they can't agree, and I don't know that it's happened here, but I do know of other cities where it's happened, where they go on for a few weeks, where they can't get the votes, then I would like to have some kind of a 30 or 60-day deadline. If you can't figure it out within that time period, then it gets offered to whoever vote getter number 1 is. So that's my thought, and I'm happy to discuss this. I understand the idea of doing recency, but I do like the idea of it being back 2 years, because then we have someone who has got that 2 years experience, so you know that they've got that.
Your Honor.
So I just want to have discussion with council, and then we'll probably ask for the committee.
So, Your Honor, I hear what you're saying, and I disagree, just because I think that what the charter study group is saying is, number one, like, they wanted to look at the will of the people for the current year. Things can change a lot over the course of somebody's 4-year term. They may have been, okay, I was the top vote getter in 2019, right? Great, fantastic. But, now I'm up for election again, but in that time, people could have decided that they don't like me anymore. I know, it's unbelievable, but they might decide that they don't like me anymore. They don't support the same things that I support. It happens, right? But in this scenario, I would be like, I would have been required to be the mayor pro tem because I had gotten that, I had been voted top vote getter 2
Hold on.
years prior.
Not required, it would have been offered to you.
Okay, but that would have been like, I would be the first in line to get that, right? And, the will of the people may have been, I'm not up for election for another 2 years, so they can't do anything about it for another 2 years. But, it does seem to me like, currently, most recent elections, the incumbent has been the top vote getter or a number of the incumbents. And it just feels like the potential that it could be somebody who's never gotten there before or anything like that, it feels a little bit like protectionist to keep people out of having leadership positions rather than inviting people in to become having leadership. You're never going to have the experience if you don't do the experience, right? So I just think it's helpful, and I think I agree with the study group on this one, that it would be a good change. And the other question of, like, if there was somebody who came in the last election that had resigned or passed away or is no longer in their seat on council, it just throws another wrench in that thing. The person who came in first in the most recent election, they are there, they are ready to take their seat, they are ready to do the work from day one, even if they have a learning curve to learn how to do that. Mayor Pro Tem doesn't typically immediately jump into the mayor's seat, right away. So it is a wonderful place to sit and to learn as you are a sitting council member.
All right, thank you. And yes,
I was remiss in not saying, the way the system is proposed by the group is that every 2 years, there would be a different mayor pro tem.
right. Right,
Your Honor,
yes.
I just have a question for clarification. So if we approve this, it would be going on the ballot for a vote, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so it wouldn't be like we approved it and then it would be, in effect, it would go out to the people to vote on. Okay.
Well, there's an interim step, Your Honor. If we approve it, we need to send it back to the Attorney General and to the governor, and then they have to approve the language. So far, we've gotten positive feedback from the Attorney General regarding it. And then if they approve it, then it will be on the ballot in November.
So really, our job is to determine if we want to approve it to be on the ballot as
Yes.
is.
Right.
Okay.
I do have a question. I'm
Yes.
sorry. When you're looking at the ballot, does it make a distinction between who, you're voting for, let's say in this election, it'll be three positions for a four-year term. So will there be some distinction about how they will know if they're going to, the people that are voting will know that there's going to be, the highest vote getter will be the mayor pro tem, or will it just be, well, I hope they would know that that's what's happening?
Your Honor, it will become common knowledge that the highest vote getter is going to be automatically appointed as mayor pro tem.
Your Honor?
Your Honor. But not until 2025, so
Not
not
until
on this
2020.
election.
So it's not going to be separated on the ballot, it'll just be all the same, and then there'll be no notice of anything, right?
So the voters will vote on it this time, and if they decide to approve that measure, then the following city election,
Correct.
whoever's the highest vote getter. But that would already be approved 2 years prior to that.
All right.
Your Honor?
Yes.
So this didn't come to us in the way that I originally was supportive of, but that's how democracy works. I do like the automation of it. It works in the same exact way that appointing runners-up, of which we have 3 serving on this council. We have 3 number 1 vote getters serving on this council. Like, I think we can all acknowledge that that type of automatic appointment saved our city a ton of stress in what would have been a really difficult time. And I think that the common knowledge aspect of this, it was common knowledge that the first runner-up would be appointed in the event of a vacancy. And so when our council was grieving, we had an automatic process involved. I think this, is kind of the same thing. It gives us the opportunity to automatically just fill the role and get to work for the people. So while it's not, I would personally prefer it to have been 2 years prior. I think ensuring that we have some experience there would be helpful, but I'll support it as written. I think it also helps as we send it out to the ballot to let people know that this came this way, recommended from our citizen committee. So I won't make a change at the table. I'll support it.
Is there any other discussion?
Your Honor.
Yes.
I was just going to say, I think it's like Mr. Bliss said, it's important to have that automatic piece of it. It keeps us going smooth and things like that. And a lot of times, the whole common knowledge thing, like before I got on council, until just like a couple weeks before I got on council, I had no idea how Mayor Pro Tem was appointed, right? People commonly do not know how that works, for the most part. People commonly do not understand why things happen the way that they do. And so, this will be maybe the very first time that they have ever even heard the words Mayor Pro Tem. But, it is, I think, important to also listen to the guidance of the study group, just to, and I think it's reasonable. So I just wanted to say that, like, the whole common knowledge thing is hard because this stuff is not common knowledge for the general public. But nobody's keeping it from them. It's not in our lexicon typically. So.
All right, thank you. Is there any other discussion?
Just that vice mayor would be clearer, but.
Deputy. All right, so no further. Okay. Okay, so seeing no further discussion, clerk, can you please do roll call?
Yes. Mayor Pro Tem Bliss.
Yes.
Councilman Fleming.
Yes.
Councilor Rohrbach.
Yes.
Councilman Soltis.
Yes.
Councilor Wright.
Yes.
Mayor Grafstein.
I will vote yes. Thank you. It does pass unanimously. Thank you for the other points. To my point, I am fine with doing this automatic. All right, so that is proposal 1. And then we have proposal 2. Can I get a motion from council regarding proposal 2, please?
Your Honor,
Yes.
I move that we approve proposal 2 and send it to the appropriate folks to get it on the ballot.
All right. Thank you. Is there a second?
Your Honor.
Second.
All right. Thank you. Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Your Honor.
Yes.
Sorry, my brain just pause or move on to someone else for just a second. Hang on.
Anybody like to have discussion outside of Councilor Rohrbach?
Sorry.
Okay, so this is that you need to resign. So if I decide that I don't want to be mayor anymore and I want to be on council, I need to resign as mayor to run for council. If one of the council members wants to be mayor, they need to resign in order to run for mayor.
Thank you. Can I call my
comment?
Yes, can I comment?
Ready?
I apologize. Sometimes it's mom brain or something. I don't know. So I appreciate this one as well. Just when I'm thinking about, we talked about this, whether or not we even wanted to send it to the study group as a possible thing to look at. I appreciate that they sent it back as something that we should consider. I think that the usefulness of the previous rule, forcing somebody to resign, and to Jeffrey's point about the Mayor Hartwell saying it was the best thing that ever happened to me. Yeah, I mean, city council's a lot of work, so it does help to not have to do that and run for something else. But I do think it also provides an avenue for some fluidity or some folks to be able to pursue something without the risk of necessarily saying, now, and if I lose that bid, then I have zero voice anymore. And I think that's an important thing to consider, and they can continue to run again for the next time that they're on council, or run again for a mayor position, or whatever it is. I just think it's helpful, again, as not a barrier to change and participation. So, thank you.
All right, thank you. Is there any other discussion, comments?
Your Honor?
Yes.
So this one, I think, Councilor Rohrbach, in the last conversation, you'd said something about protectionism, and I think that this is potentially that. And it normally isn't an issue, whether or not then Councilman Hartwell, whether or not he resigned, and people would still have the ability to do that under here. It didn't really impact the city. There are potential scenarios where it could impact the city, where you have maybe 3 members of council who resign to run in the event that maybe there's an open seat or something. And it could take out your entirety of council when it really only needed to move 1 seat of whoever won to put them in the mayor's seat. And so I see some potential issues that this maybe solves. If it ever creates issues for us, I think we could always go back to the way that it was. But this one also was unanimous from the study group, right? This was unanimous,
Yes.
correct?
Yes, it was.
No, you need to go for the conversation and the video,
The video.
for the public, yeah. Sorry. That was not my role, so I apologize.
Part of our thinking on this one was that a lot of times when the mayor is in office and is challenged, that some of the strongest challengers, the best for the city, may be someone on city council. That by de facto means right now, you're getting a weaker pool of candidates for mayor. And I don't mean weaker by influence or stature or their experience. I mean, we sometimes may be excluding some of the people who may want to run but can't run. So we want to open it up so that, again, the people, the will of the people is what's really being served.
Thank you. Is there any other discussion?
Your Honor,
Yes.
I agree with this as written and approved, but I'd be remiss if I didn't say I have some deep concerns that, we have to worry about and consider inclusion. And I'm not saying that this is exclusive, but for folks who've never served, I mean, they have just the ability to serve as well. And the only thing that really helps me to feel good about voting yes for this is the fact that it's going out to vote to the general public. But I think I had to just say that part about inclusion is really important. And I think that the committee did a great job of considering it, but I just wanted to make sure that we address that as well.
All right. Thank you. Is there any other discussion?
Your Honor, Councilor Wright, I don't know if you'd be willing to elaborate, but you said inclusion on this. Having a council member not have to resign, what do you mean by that as not being inclusive?
Honestly, I see it as the old saying, 6 in one hand, half a dozen in the other. You have experience from the folks who are up here on council. That'd be the benefit of allowing folks to not have to resign on council. However, on the other hand, you give council has an upper hand when it comes to running because of their seat compared to someone who is just running and wants to get involved. So to me, those two things kind of are the balance, and that's what I mean by being inclusive, because you shouldn't have to be a part of the club for the proverbial club to be mayor. But I'm in support of this because it does go out to the voter general public, but I just want to make sure that emphasis on inclusivity to folks who haven't been a part of the system, haven't been a part of the program, but want to get involved, don't have a barrier that they have to overcome. So, and I don't think that our committee was trying to be exclusive, but again, I just wanted to put an emphasis on that.
All right. Thank you. Is there any other discussion? Okay. So I'm going to be voting no on this one, and it has nothing to do with the fact that I'm the mayor and I don't want anybody running against me. It has to do with the fact that I've talked to other council who have what we have, where you have to resign, and who've had it where you don't have to, because potentially you could have a situation where you have the mayor and 6 members of council who are running to be the mayor. So you have 7 people who, instead of all of us working together, we're in a way working against each other, racing for something. I don't know how realistic that is, but I did talk to someone who they had a situation like this, and there was 2 or 3 of them who were running. So it's part of how we've got this set up right now, that we have 3 people and then 3 people. So there's always those remaining 3 people. And I know it's a bit of a weird situation this time because we've only got 2 remaining ones, but it's so that council members aren't sitting there and you're sitting there thinking, like we're trying to, or at least I am trying to include everyone in everything that we do and working as a group and just have that cohesiveness. And I know we've had a lot of changes over the last couple of years, but just trying to move with that. And if we have people who are running against each other, even though, technically there's 3 people, they're always running against each other. That's my concern with this. I do understand, that, maybe, you have a situation where the mayor isn't running again and one of the council people want this. but the mayor's not ready to resign right now. And so they're staying until November, and so somebody, and I know people who've had that, where they've had to resign to run. So it makes it a really weird situation. But just overall, from the conversations I've had with people from other cities, this seems to be the way to do it. And as former councilman, now former Mayor Hartwell said, having the summer off to campaign was actually really good for him. So I think that if someone wants to resign to run, they're still running, saying, I was on council for X amount of time, and this is what I did. And they're bringing that knowledge into it, and not being on council for a couple of months. They're not really not having that knowledge. So that's my thought. So clerk, if you can do the roll call.
Wait, you know, I
Sorry.
can add something real quick. You know, we've been going over this for a while, but I'm a firm believer in democracy, and let it for the people to decide, and I think that's what the issue is in my head. So.
Yeah. And just for the record, everything, whatever we decide, whether we decide yes or no, it is going to go out to the public. There's 5 proposals here, so.
Not if you say no.
Well, yes, if I say no, you're right. If I say no, it's not going out to the public. You are correct. You are correct.
Your Honor,
Yes.
we need 5 votes to put it on the ballot, right?
Yes.
So, okay, just wanted to make.
Yes. And so if everybody votes yes and I vote no, then we'll have our 5 votes.
Okay.
So, yeah.
I just want to make sure.
So
that
the
statement-
votes will be there. I just, this is something that yeah, and the residents may vote yes or no.
Yeah.
It's going to go back to the residents. There's a lot going out to them. Well, potentially, there's a lot going out to them. So, all right, clerk, you can do roll call.
Yes. Councilman Fleming.
Yes.
Councilor Rohrbach.
Yes.
Councilman Soltis.
Yes.
Councilor Wright.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Bliss.
Yes.
Mayor Grafstein.
And I'm going to vote no, and the motion carries 5-1. All right, and then next up, we have Proposal 3. What is the wish of council for Proposal 3?
Your Honor.
Yes.
I move that council approves Proposal 3, Section 5.5, resignations as presented.
All right, thank you. Is there support?
Support, Your Honor.
Thank you. Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? All right, so this one to me is pretty basic. Yes, we started the consent agenda last year, and so we don't really do a lot of discussion. When somebody resigns, it does seem a little bit silly that someone has to stay on a board until we accept their resignation, so to have this done administratively makes a lot of sense to me. But clerk, if you could do a roll call vote, please.
Councilor Rohrbach.
Yes.
Councilman Soltis.
Yes.
Councilor Wright.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Bliss.
Yes.
Councilman Fleming.
Yes.
Mayor Grafstein.
I vote yes. Motion carries 6-0. And then we have Proposal 4. What is the wish of council with Proposal 4?
Your Honor,
Yes.
I move that we approve Proposal 4.
All right, thank you. Is there a second?
Your Honor.
Yes.
I'll second.
Thank you. Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion?
So this is I'm sorry, Your Honor.
Yes.
There's
a lot.
So this is if in vacancy, in case of a vacancy of the office of mayor, it automatically, we appoint the mayor pro tem, and then that person would run for, or not run, but they would have to run if they wanted to maintain the seat of mayor, they would run at the next city election, correct? Is there anything that I'm missing in this?
So,
Your Honor.
yes, please.
They would run when the mayor's term was up. At that point, the mayor runs every 2 years.
Every 2 years, it's every city
In
election.
addition, once the mayor pro tem is automatically appointed as mayor, it causes a vacancy in the office of mayor pro tem, at which point we look back at the last election, and the second highest vote getter would automatically become mayor pro tem.
And then in the case of that open seat, that from the shifting, the automatic appointment of the person who came in fourth, basically, in the last election.
In the last election,
Okay.
right, as we always do.
Yeah, Rob. Okay, thank you. It just kind of shifts everybody.
There's a lot.
One seat over,
Yes.
like the 4 in the bed and the little ones that roll over.
All right, is there any discussion? Other discussion
Sorry,
on this?
I'm loopy tonight. I apologize.
Your Honor,
Yes.
I see this as what Councilman Soltis said. This is straight up democracy in action. if there is a vacancy in the mayor, the citizens have already made their determination of who leads in that stead. And the automaticness of this, I think, would be appreciated by our residents, though I guess we'll find out, assuming we put it on the ballot. I support it, though.
All right, thank you. Is there any other discussion? All right, clerk, can you do a roll call vote, please?
Second. Councilman Soltis.
Yes.
Counselor Wright.
Yes.
Mayor Pretend Bliss.
Yes.
Councilman Fleming.
Yes.
Counselor Rohrbach.
Yes.
Mayor Grabstein.
I vote yes, motion carries 6-0. And then last up is Proposal 5. What is the wish of council?
Your Honor,
Yes.
I move that we adopt Proposal 5 to put it on the ballot.
All right, thank you. Is there a second?
Your Honor,
Yes.
I'll support.
Thank you. Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Your Honor. Oh, go ahead.
I just wanted to, and I'm sure that you remember, this is not a recommendation from the committee. This was drafted at the request of the administration to present to you.
All right, thank you.
Your Honor. I was going to say exactly that. I think that, the committee really looked at this stuff. This was put before them as something to recommend to us. They didn't want to do it. And, I know that sometimes in the last, it seems like quite often in the last year, we've had some, like, extraordinarily short meetings that were really, took not very much time. And, that thought being that it takes as much time for a long meeting as it does for a short meeting. And, those kinds of things are in there. And I know that some of the discussion has been for us about, being responsive and inclusive in how we do things in the city and making sure that we are addressing some of the potential conflicts that are on the calendar if you just look at regular calendar weeks, right? So I appreciate that it was, that the group decided not to bring it to us. So I'm actually very torn on this one, and I haven't come to a conclusion yet. But I really think that having the ability to have a little bit of flexibility, this is 20 meetings instead of 23. I think that I would imagine that most of the time we would have them on the same days that we typically have them now, unless it was something like it's the first day of an important holiday of a member of our council or something like that, some sort of thing that is something that would prevent us from being able to do it. Or if we have such little thing, such few things on the agenda that it's literally show up to say hello and then we go, right? Those kinds of things, it seems like it would be a good reason to have that freedom, but you never know what is going to be what's going out in the public during a specific time. Is there going to be a major issue that somebody is like, I've been waiting, something happened on a Tuesday after the last council meeting and they've been waiting 2 weeks and nope, they don't get to come in, they have to wait a full month before their next one. I can see how that could be frustrating. While I would like to have a little more flexibility for inclusive reasons and various things like that, I can also see why, from the public side, not having access to council on a regular basis and knowing exactly when that's going to be every single time can be a real challenge. So I would like to actually hear from my other council members about why should we consider this even though it didn't come to us from the study chart group.
No, that's solid. Any comments from council,
Your Honor,
please?
happy to jump in. I think this is just about flexibility. This is a staff recommendation. So normally the things we vote on come from staff as recommendations. We're going to do 2 bid awards that were recommended by staff. This is kind of the same thing. It doesn't say that we won't have 2 meetings a month. Previous councils put on a ballot to remove the second meeting in December. This gives that flexibility across the board, so we can approach even with the same exact calendar year, but it does allow if a unique situation came up where either there was an illness that ravaged through council where we don't have a quorum, which has happened, or there's nothing on the agenda, or we're having staff challenges, it does give us some flexibility. So, you know, I don't know if it'll pass when we put it out there, but I do know that the citizens removed a meeting straight up for the December meeting. And this is just simply saying there's flexibility. It's not removing meetings, it's just saying that there's a minimum threshold of meetings that we have to meet, and then everything else is flexible. So that's my 2 cents on it.
Thank you. Is there any other discussion among council?
Your Honor, I just would like to concur with Mr. Bliss's thought, Mayor Pro Tem Bliss's thought on it. I think the flexibility was my main goal. Like, for me, it was personal. It's not necessarily for us, the 7 of us, because we have all made a commitment, and I think we all honor our commitment. But for our citizens who can't be here and want to be here, to have that flexibility is great for, I mean, again, for that word, inclusivity, for the folks who want to be here but can't. And we can just be a little bit more flexible.
Okay, so it appears that 2 members of the Charter Committee would like to speak, so I'm going to go with Martha Covert first, and then Kevin Wright, because she had her hand up first.
When we discussed this, you guys, you just hide me behind this, I get it. When we discussed this, we were talking about how when you have a meeting that's 25 minutes and there's constant little clicking, oh, it's such a short meeting. So I asked, why don't you bring one of your special meetings into council? Oh, then it would be too long. Guys, is it too long or too short? What's the deal? If you're gonna be here 2 hours for a budget meeting, put it on the council agenda then. Then your meetings would be longer. Then you guys need to actually discuss things too, like you're doing tonight. This is how our council meeting should be rolling. When you're talking and discussing things, not when you say, oh yeah, gas station, chicken restaurant, great, okay, move on, next thing. Explain to the residents why you chose this. You want this to be a hometown, but yet it's car washes and gas stations and dealerships. Come on, guys. Have your meetings like you want, like you signed up for, quote unquote, and do your job. It'll pay off in the end.
All right, Mr. Wright?
Thank you. I just want to speak a little bit about what the opinion of the group was. Even though we came to the conclusion that we weren't going to recommend any changes, we discussed a lot of different options. We wanted to give the council flexibility, but we thought in the end that any changes we were proposing were not really that much different than what the current charter says, and we didn't want to put something before the voters that really wasn't that different. But that being said, it was a clear opinion of the group, unanimous opinion that the council not have less meetings than they have right now. So I just want to put that on the record that we talked about having 23 meetings mandated and giving you the flexibility to do it, but that we were not in favor of having less meetings. That was clearly a thing we discussed, going to 1 meeting per month or less, and that's something the group flatly rejected. So I just want to know the thinking of the group on the record.
All right, thank you. Is there?
Your Honor?
Yeah, yes, I guess that's.
I would amend my motion to change to a minimum of 23, as noted.
That's what we have already, so what would the difference?
To 20.
That's what we currently have, though, so there would be no, one minute.
So you could change them. You could have 3 meetings in April.
Okay.
Gives the flexibility, but does
Okay,
not
I
at
see what
all
you're saying.
reduce the number of meetings.
Okay, I see what you're saying. Thank you for that clarification. Or is there any other discussion?
Your Honor,
Yes?
I appreciate that as a, like, I don't think anybody here would sign up for like 5 meetings a month if we had to, so I think it would force us to make those regular intervals, right? But also give us the flexibility to, it doesn't say the day of the week, correct? So it would give us the flexibility to be like, if we can't do it on a Monday for X reason, we could do it on a Tuesday, correct? That's the biggest change that I see in this. And if we keep the same number of meetings per week, or month, or year, sorry.
Oh, yes,
The current charter provision doesn't specify.
It doesn't.
the day either.
okay. So,
What would be the process, I just want to know, what would be the process of now to reschedule the meetings? I mean, I think that was
Hold on, right now, let's just focus on, sorry, is it okay if we just focus on this?
Sure.
Because there's a lot going on right now, so let's just, right now, I mean, we can reschedule. If we wanted to, we could make a decision tonight and say, okay, instead of meeting on the second and fourth Monday, we're now going to start meeting on the third and fourth Wednesday. Or however, if we wanted, we could do that. So it's not that difficult to do.
Your Honor, if I could just clarify. So I was actually requested to come up with this language, and the reason why is because in a situation, today is a great example, we are in basically the last, I think we're in the last meeting in May.
Yeah,
But
last one.
when this actually came up was when we had a religious holiday and we were going to cancel the meeting. We did not have enough days left in that month to reschedule that meeting, and by charter, we had to have 2 meetings in that calendar in that month. So we went ahead and had the meeting without you and the mayor and Quinn. We didn't, because we didn't have time to reschedule it. Under this provision, we could have rescheduled it for the following Monday, which was in the next month. That's the main, it's not really a, can council reschedule? Council can reschedule, and we can pick whatever day of the week we want. We can pick whatever time. We can start meeting at 6 if we wanted, whatever you wanted to do. And we will start doing that as a resolution at the end of the calendar year. You're going to set the dates, so people will know ahead of time when those dates are going to be, so you can consider holidays and those kind of things.
Sorry. I appreciate hearing that, because I don't know why all this time I have been under the impression that it had to be on a Monday, had to be the first or the second and fourth
That's just the council
Monday.
tradition here
It's
for
council
probably
tradition.
25 years.
There was just a lot of uproar about like some not being able to switch things around a little bit, and so, interesting.
Well, and we routinely have changed it when it fell on a Memorial Day, so this meeting does every 3 years or something fall on Memorial Day, and we have routinely just scheduled that as a regular meeting. When the clerk sets the calendar and sends it out to everybody, it's scheduled on a Tuesday. And that has been past practice for a long time.
Gotcha.
Okay, so Mrs. Covert made a good point about, so we had, I don't remember what they were, but we had 4 meetings one night. We had our regular council meeting, and we had 2 special meetings beforehand, and I think we had a closed session afterwards. So we had 4 meetings in one night. So can we not, when we do workshops, is there a reason that we can't do a workshop on the night of a council meeting? Is it just we traditionally haven't done it?
There is no reason. We typically do workshops because they last about 3 to 4 hours long, and that is the only topic of conversation.
Okay.
And they're very informal, whereas a council like this is very formal, and workshops allow anybody to talk whenever they want to, and staff is typically there and just speaks up and talks in a very informal method, as you know, from strategic planning, where, you know, if police chief wants to jump up and say something in the middle, they go ahead. It's not this typical type thing. I mean, there's no reason why we can't do that. We do have a budget hearing in May as part of the council agenda, but typically in the past, like the strategic planning is from 6 to 9, and I think every year we're still here at 8:55, and I say, hey, I'm going to sleep at 9:30, so we got to wrap it up. So that's the reason why. That and just it needs to be more communicated, more like a conversation instead of like you're telling staff. It's a back and forth. Typically in workshops, it's just that, a workshop.
So we don't have to meet at 7:30. So if we wanted to, we could say, okay, we're having our regular council meeting on such and such date. Let's just say we're going to keep the Mondays, the second and fourth. So on the second Monday, or the fourth Monday of whatever month, we're going to have our regular council meeting. There's nothing on the agenda except this workshop, and we're doing it at 6 o'clock.
The only thing is that council is going to be setting the calendar at the end of the calendar year, and you need to have consistency so the public knows when to show up. Because now, if Paul had come to my office this
Right.
morning, I would have told him every second and fourth Monday at 7:30, without fail, we're having a council meeting.
Right.
So you couldn't make it tonight, I can already tell you when the next, if I tell him, oh, tonight we're meeting at 7:30, next Monday we're meeting at 6, next Monday we're meeting at 7:15, he's never going to know when to show up. I mean, so there is like consistency there, but
I understand what you're saying.
Not you, but just anybody,
Well-
you just can't keep it straight. But, so council would be presented with that at the end of the calendar year, and it would be, I would be recommending a consistent day, so the second, fourth Monday, the first and third Monday, or whatever. But you do have I guess what I'm just saying is you do have flexibility. Like if we, under this provision, if we wanted to cancel tonight's meeting, we could have. The way the charter is currently, we cancel this meeting, we would have had to try to schedule it again
For
before
the
the end
couple
of
of
May,
days, right.
regardless of the reason, except for maybe if we had, it really doesn't say that, but if we had a flood, I guess.
Well, we
could've.
did, we had one where there was a storm. There was a snowstorm, and we canceled the meeting because everything closed down. This was a couple of years ago. Okay, so, Mr. Bliss, are you did you want to make a substitute motion to change this to, say, 23 regular meetings instead of the 20 that's on here?
Yeah, Your Honor,
Do you want
I would
an official
amend,
substitute?
I would amend my, because I was the maker, so I would amend it, provided that the support would agree. Because in the situation that City Manager Marsh explained, if, like, say tonight, 4 of us had the flu, if we were not better to quickly rush a reschedule, we would be in violation of the charter
Right.
going into the Memorial Day weekend.
Right.
And that is, like, that singular scenario is worth asking the voters, I think, but, whatever they do.
Okay, so we would keep, okay, so you're going to amend that, and Mr. Wright, are you in support of that still?
Yes, I
Okay.
support.
Okay, so now we have, the motion is now just the change of 20 to 23. So we're not changing the number of meetings that we have. We still need to have 23 regular meetings. But if we run into a situation where, for whatever reason, at the end of the month, it doesn't look as though we're going to be holding our second meeting, we can just push it off to the next month. And most likely, it would be on the Monday, but that's a whole different issue. All right, so is there any discussion on that? All right.
There is a
Yes.
typo, just to let you know. It reads 20 regular meeting per calendar year, and I think we should change it. I'm sure it'll be changed, but I'm just pointing it out, that it should say meetings per calendar year.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you for catching that. All right, is there any other discussion on changing this to, say, 23 meetings, at least one a month? Okay. Quick, can you do a roll call?
Counselor Wright,
Yes.
Mayor Cotem Bliss,
I'll vote yes.
Councilman Fleming,
Yes.
Counselor Rohrbach,
Yes.
Councilman Soltis. Aye. Mayor Gresty.
I vote yes, and motion carries. All right, so we've got all these 5 proposals are going to be on the ballot for November. And yes,
They'll be subject to review.
Oh, yes,
by
they
the
will be
Attorney
reviewed by the
General
Attorney
and
General.
So we need to.
potentially on the ballot. And then, so the first 4 take effect 2025.
Just the ones pertaining to elections.
Okay, so number 5, if it passes, would take effect for 2024 then, for the next year?
Here's how
I should have asked that
it would
question
go.
before.
Anything that relates to an election where the voters have a vested interest would not take effect until 2025, but scheduling and accepting automatic resignations would take effect after the 2023 election.
Okay,
Scheduling and resignations
Okay.
handled administratively.
okay. All right. Next up, bid award purchases. This is
Staff reached out to our current pavement marking vendor, PK Contracting, to determine if they would be interested in once again extending their pricing for the summer 2023 pavement marking season. Unfortunately, due to significant increases in material and labor costs, they could not do so. Therefore, staff prepared an invitation to bid for pavement marking, which was issued in April. The bids included worst-case scenarios, which would be more more marking than we anticipate, but the actual work performed will be based on the need and the budget available. One sealed bid was received by the deadline of May the 15th, and the sole qualified bidder was PK Contracting. Staff therefore recommends that council award the bid for the 2023 pavement marking to PK Contracting of Troy, Michigan. Funding is budgeted and available in the upcoming 2024 budget year.
All right, thank you. What is the wish of council?
Your Honor,
Yes.
I move that we award the bid for 2023 pavement marking to PK Contracting of Troy, Michigan.
All right, thank you. Is there a second?
Your Honor,
Yes.
support.
All right, motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those against say no. Motion carries. And then finally, from the DPS Director, purchase of 4 police patrol vehicles.
The approved 24 budget includes the scheduled replacement of 4 standard police patrol vehicles. Since the beginning of the conversion of the fleet from Ford to Dodge Durango pursuit vehicles, the Durango has proven to be a reliable vehicle and an excellent fit for our police department. Vehicles continue to be extremely difficult to come by, and due to the lingering effects of the widely publicized supply chain issues and microchip shortages, this situation currently has no end in sight for police patrol vehicles. We were informed by our government sales representative with Chrysler that he has taken delivery of a limited number of Dodge Durango pursuit vehicles and has them currently available on his lot. Staff has determined that the best course of action would be to take advantage of these vehicles and purchase the 4 now, which are currently funded in the 2024 budget year. This would require a budget amendment, basically moving the money from next year into the year that we're in today, to provide funding. Therefore, staff is requesting that council consider 3 separate motions. And remember, budget amendments, just like charter provisions, require 5 votes of council. So to approve the budget amendment in the amount of $131,124 to account 101-301-985-0000, that's the general fund police department. Second, to approve a budget amendment in the amount of $43,708 to account 265-301-985-0039, that's drug forfeiture for vehicles. And then to approve the purchase of these 4 Dodge Durango pursuit vehicles from Galliana's Van Dyke Dodge of Warren, Michigan, in the total amount of $174,832 under the Oakland County Cooperative Purchasing Bid.
All right, thank you. So what is the wish of council?
Your Honor,
Yes.
I move that we approve a budget amendment in the amount of $131,124 to account 101-301-985-0000.
All right, is there support?
Your Honor, I'll support.
The motion's been made and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Your Honor, real quick, Chief, what's the average mileage on those cars? When they go out to the pasture?
It's really hard to say, but they're averaging right around 90 to 100,000 miles when they're going out. But what we try to do is we try to have our vehicles in a good enough state that they can be passed along to the reserves, so that they have rotation of their vehicles. For several years, when we weren't purchasing vehicles on a regular basis, the reserves ended up, we just got rid of their last Crown Victoria in like 2003, I think. So it's been a long time coming, but that's about the way it is. And then also, particularly with this model year, we have a couple of vehicles that we've tried to hang on to longer, and they're just completely becoming a maintenance nightmare. So it'll help us get rid of those as well.
So you recycle, good.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Is there any other discussion? Okay, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those against say no. Motion carries. Next motion from council? What is the wish of council?
Sure, Your Honor. I move that we approve a budget amendment in the amount of $43,708 to account 265-301-985-0039.
Thank you. Is there support?
Your Honor, I'll support.
Thank you. Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those against say no. Motion carries. And third motion.
Your Honor.
All right, Councilor Rohrbach, go ahead.
I move that council approves the purchase of 4 Dodge Durango pursuit vehicles to Galliana's Van Dyke Dodge of Warren in the total amount of $174,834 under the Oakland County Cooperative Purchasing Bid.
All right, thank you. Is there a second?
Your Honor, I'll support, but it's 832, just as clarification.
What did I say?
834, I
Oh.
think.
Okay, 832. Apologize.
All right, motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those against say no. Motion carries. And with that, we conclude our regular business, and I invite closing comments, starting with Mayor Pro Tem Bliss.
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. I hope that Councilwoman Aaron is having an awesome time in Alaska. I think we're going to alternate, so I will be out of town at the next meeting, unfortunately, so we'll still have a vacant seat over on this side of the table. The only other thing that I wanted to talk about tonight, though, was the water bill. That's something that many of us on council were very upset about to even have to discuss. But one of the things that I think should be noted, there are many communities around us, some even bordering our city, that shut off water when somebody is behind in their bill. Many years ago, this council, we decided we're never going to do that. Because what happens is that community will shut off the water, and then you have this additional fee to get somebody to come out and turn it back on. By definition, that is a poor tax. The people who need help the most are getting their water shut off, which, whether you agree or you don't agree that it's a basic human right, access to clean drinking water, it's still not a positive thing for city resources, time investment, to send somebody out to shut it off and then have to send somebody out to turn it back on, and all that cost along the way that's not getting contributed to paying for water. And so I just want to be very clear to the general public that's watching, if you need help, there are numbers that you can call. If you call city offices, we will help provide you with places that can get you the help and assistance you need. And if you are behind in your water bill, you will still have access to clean drinking water. We will not shut it off by policy of the city of Madison Heights. So I just want to make sure that's out there. I don't know that it's been noted in a lot of the articles or press releases or things that we put out to the public, and so those who really need it, I really want them to know that that is not something the city of Madison Heights does, despite our neighboring communities, many of them doing that exact terrible action, reprehensible policy. So, but for every resident that's upset about it, all of our emails, all of our phone numbers, everything's public. We'd be happy to talk you through the rationale of why we voted the way that we did, all of the discussions that happened. We can give you our general thought process around it, and hopefully that helps. But that's it tonight, Your Honor.
Thank you. Mr. Wright?
Yeah, I agree. Safe drinking water is a priority, I know, for myself specifically, and I know for I won't speak for everyone else, but I think we all agree safe drinking water is a priority. And, we can't pretend like we're immune from inflation and the costs of how much things cost, but at the same time, I think we're taking a proactive step, and that tends to yield cost savings in the long run. So we have to have safe drinking water, period. Hey, happy Memorial Day, and I just wanted to congratulate my daughter for making the honor roll. That's all I got.
Mr. Sherman?
Yes, Your Honor. As we've stated multiple times already, we're going to be sending these ballot proposals up to the Attorney General and to the Governor. If they make substantive changes, we are going to have to come back to Council, and you're going to have to consider those substantive changes. However, procedural changes is something that Melissa, Cheryl, and I can undertake. So, for example, on the last one, the statement of purpose, we might need a little further explanation on the statement of purpose to the effect of this means that we can hold more than 2 meetings in any 1 month. Because someone looking at it, they'll say 23 meetings and once a month, the numbers don't add up. So we'll put our heads together, and I assume Council will be okay with that for us to explain, to try to head off the Attorney General, the Governor, returning this to you guys.
Okay. Thank you. Mrs. Marsh?
I'll just repeat what I said earlier. If people received the new water rate postcard and has any questions, feel free to come in and either call or come in and see the finance staff or the city manager staff. we can look at your current history and tell you what that actually means to you. And because what your neighbor may be telling you, their bill may be drastically different than yours. So feel free to call or come in to find out exactly what it means.
All right, thank you.
Nothing this evening, thank you.
Just a couple of really short things, I promise. Water rates, don't believe everything you read on Facebook. Please talk to the city manager's office and get the real facts. All right. And then this weekend, the Memorial Day Parade is on Saturday. I'm very excited. I hope I see you all there. And on the Sunday, so Saturday is the Memorial Day Parade. On Sunday, we're having the native plant sale right out here by the police station from 2 to 5. Excellent opportunity to come out and support and get your native plants for your own garden. So please come out. And then before we meet again, our 2023 graduates will have graduated. It'll be the end of the school year for both Lamfair and Madison. I'm just so proud of all of those graduates that are, have persevered to the end of the year. Go Eagles. Go Rams, too. I just said it because he's wearing the hat, I promise. So just perseverance to the end of this high school career. I've got two four-year-olds and a sixth grader, or two fourth graders and a sixth grader right now. And they can't even imagine the, almost once a week I get, do I have to do this for another 12 years? They can't even imagine it. It seems like so daunting, and I'm so proud of everyone who has reached the end of that finish line, and so proud of those that have chosen to go on to study either in college or an apprenticeship or something else and decided to do something wonderful with their lives. And I'm proud of you, and go you, all of you graduates. That's it.
Thank you. Mr. Fleming?
Yeah, so I've been working on a couple things. One is that, we talk a lot about mental health here on council, but what means the most to me is that we're actually doing something for the people here in the city. So I've been in contact with the Oakland County Community Health Network, and I've got two events that are kind of sort of in the works. One is a mental health forum, and the other one is a mental health first aid training to help people, identify others that have mental health issues to help themselves and stuff like that. So I hope that these come to fruition and people are able to attend the forum and the training from Oakland County Community Health. Secondly, last session for the Michigan House of Representatives, there was a bill for Captain Jeffrey Brozick, our firefighter, who that bill did not pass. So I've asked formally for Representative Mike McFall to reintroduce that bill because it means a lot to me and also the firefighters that, when one of our firefighters is passed away, that we can recognize them for their great heroic efforts and also everything that they did. So hopefully that will get reintroduced this year and maybe passed before the freeway is open. Would be back in August. So also, I wanted to say it was great to participate in the Little League opening day. I do sponsor a team. My name is 12 Players Shirts, but it's more than just that. To me, young baseball players starting at the age of 8 or 9 or 10 or whatever age they're in, helping these baseball players make it more affordable to them to actually be able to play the game of baseball. That's what means the most to me. It's not about advertising at all. And I hope that these young baseball players, the boys and girls who play there, have long-lasting memories and they go on to have great baseball careers. And then finally, I've been helping the Memorial Day Parade Committee myself. I've been putting a lot of hours into helping them. And I hope that this year, returning the parade, means a lot to me and the veterans, but also that I hope that it turns out really great. The route has changed due to construction, so it's starting at Wilkinson Middle School, just south of 11 Mile, going to the high school, Madison High on 11 Mile, which it actually used to go that way, Well, and at right across from the high school, the VFW post. So, anyways, that's all I have.
Thank you. Mr. Soltis?
Thank you, Your Honor. It's getting late, but I just want to shout out for the officers and all the heroic deeds that they did. It's fantastic to see newer recruits involved in that situation. They're getting great mentorship, and we appreciate everything they do. And lastly, I just want to, those who were on that committee that we discussed tonight, are some of you here?
Yeah.
Can you stand, please?
Stand to be recognized.
Please, I think. That's all, thank you.
All right, thank you. Yes, I want to extend my thanks to the committee as well. This was, most of our committees meet ad hoc or on a regular basis, and they work on this, and then they work on this. This group of 5 residents were given a very specific task, and they were given a short period of time, and they worked on it, and I do appreciate everything that you did for that. I feel like we need to do a bunch of little committees like this to get things done, because, it just, it wasn't this long, drawn out. So I really do appreciate everything that you did. And I think, actually, I know all of you were on other committees, are on other committees as well. So thank you for taking the extra time out for that. I got my water bill. If you have any questions, call the city manager. She'll go over it. It's, I know what my first reaction when we found out that we were raising the rates was the same as everybody else's. What do you mean you're doubling it? Why are we doing this? But then once you start looking at it and understanding it, and if you do have a problem paying your bill, definitely reach out. There's a number on here. You can also reach out to the city and they will connect you. Because, yeah, we're not going to shut off anybody's water. So any rumors that you hear that we are, that's just not true. Do appreciate everything that was said today during the discussions about the proposals. For as long as I can remember, the December meeting hasn't been held. But that doesn't mean that if something comes up and we need to have another meeting in December after the first one, that we won't, and we have in the past had to do that. So, however people decide that this is going to happen, if we need to have a meeting about something, we can have one. So, if something happens, we can do that. With respect to, there's a comment Councilor Rohrbach made about, if we needed to change the meeting because it was the first day of a holiday of somebody on council. I think that needs to be expanded because council doesn't represent now or ever everyone who has any kind of a holiday. So whether or not council is going to meet should be based on that for everybody in the community because everyone needs to have the opportunity to come. So I just think that needs to be taken into account for future councils when they are deciding on what days are going to happen. And I believe I made a request in January as soon as I saw that this year we're in again a situation where one of the high Jewish holidays is going to be falling on a council meeting, that it gets moved. So I'm going to be sending an email in the next day or two making that as a formal request because I know for a fact that Councilman Fleming and I will both be missing that date because as it stands right now, we have 2 Jewish members. And if for some reason a 3rd or 4th member, really if 2 people don't come for another reason, then we are again going to be in the situation potentially of breaching our charter because this amendment hasn't gone through or this charter change hasn't gone through. I think that's just really important. And it's really the best way that people can show solidarity with others is to be there to support them and to come, which was the request that I made last year. There's been a lot that's gone on in the last couple of weeks, but it is a late night, so I'm just going to say thank you to Mike McFall for throwing out the first pitch at Little League. Councilor Wright and Councilman Fleming and I joined him, but he did the first official pitch, and then we did like our 2nd, 3rd, and 4th official pitches. But it was a lot of fun. It was great to see the kids. A lot of good stuff that's gone on, but I think pretty much everybody has mentioned it. Mrs. Covert mentioned the racial reconciliation. I got to the tail end of that, and I missed pretty much most of it, but when I walked in, she's correct that they weren't just talking about race, and in fact, the conversation that was being talked about then was just about going out for lunch and talking to someone who is different from you, and it could be someone who's a different age, and I thought that's really great because it really, it's not just race, it's not just religion, it's not just culture. It's age and so many other things. The time is 9:20, and our next meeting is going to be July 12th. This meeting is adjourned. Good night. Sorry, June 12th. We're here in June 12th. Good night. I skipped an entire month.
On that one.